Hi, everyone. All right, let's begin this PowerPoint on the origins of Congress. And we are talking about the people's branch of government. It is the closest branch to the people. It's the branch that people can reach out and touch practically. They can get in touch with their congressman. They can go to Washington, D.C. and meet their congressman. They can get involved in their campaigns. They can meet with them when they're back home in their districts. So it is considered the most responsive branch to the needs and the will of the people, and it was made to be this way. The framers wanted a branch that was in touch with the people. It's bicameral, 2 houses, and like I said, citizens can meet with members of Congress and their staff, email, call, Twitter, Facebook, all of that. So it's a very interactive with the people. All right, House of Representatives of the 2 houses in Congress is the closest. It's based on population. So we have 36 representatives in Texas in the House, and there are 36 districts. We're District 32, and our congressman is Pete Sessions, and you could meet him easily. He sometimes comes to Sachse High School. We have this. Congressmen have the smallest constituencies compared to senators. Congressmen have their districts, but then the 2 senators for the state have the entire state as their district or as their constituency. All revenue or taxation bills must originate in the House of Representatives. And the Founding Fathers did that because unwarranted taxation was a horrible thing, and that's what happened under the King. When they were subjects of England, they did not have representation in Parliament, and this is the basis of the American Revolution, is taxation without representation. So money taxation is very important, so they gave that responsibility to the House that is closest to the people. Members of the House of Representatives are elected every 2 years, in even-numbered years. So this means they are almost, they're elected, and then they almost have to begin campaigning again for the next election immediately. But it does allow for politicians who the constituents don't like to be voted out of office quickly. So if they had originated unfair taxes, the citizens could get rid of these people. Okay, it's also called the People's Chamber, the House of Representatives. There are 435 members in the House. That's it. No more, no less. Okay, now we're talking about the Senate. The Senate is considered to be more elite and more deliberative. It is more snooty, I guess you could say. It is elected every 6 years, so that gives them more time to deliberate and think and ponder the decisions that they make. Because they ratify treaties, it takes 2/3 vote of the Senate to ratify a treaty. They're considered foreign policy specialists. There are 100 members in the Senate, 2 per state, 50 states. Makes sense. And we're going to talk about elections next. All right, the House of Representatives, like I told you, is elected every 2 years. So our next congressional election will be in 2016. They're even-numbered years. We also have a presidential election that year. The Senate is elected every 6 years, and they stagger those elections, so only 1/3 of the Senate is being elected or re-elected every 2 years. Do the math. I can't explain it to you unless I draw it, which I can do. Ask me if you want me to draw that. Then, originally, the Senate was elected by our state legislatures because they really weren't sure about trusting the people, the citizens, with making that choice. And now, after the 17th Amendment was passed, we do elect our senators directly. So you and I can go to the ballot box and vote for our senators. Elections cost a ton of money. To run for the House of Representatives, as of 2012, it cost about $1.7 million to run a campaign. In the Senate, $10.5 million. And the salary for each is, for rank and file members of the House and the Senate, is $174,000. So Takes a lot of contributions to get war chests up to $10.5 million. Incumbency is a new word. It's what we're going to talk about next. If you are an incumbent, you're in a great position. Incumbents are those who are already in office and are running for re-election. Incumbents tend to attract more money, more campaign contributions, because the people that make the contributions want influence, and you don't have influence unless you're giving the money to someone who's going to win. So because you're probably going to win, since you're an incumbent, you're going to attract a lot of campaign contributions. 90% of incumbents win, 90 to 91% win re-election. So you're pretty much a sure bet winner. Now, you always hear people say Congress is terrible, it's a mess, it's the broken branch, but we love our own representatives. It's just a little sidebar here. We tend to love our Pete Sessions, we love our John Cornyn, we love our Ted Cruz, our senators, but then we could say, oh, Congress stinks. We ought to throw the bums out, but not our people, just Congress as a whole. Okay, why do incumbents win re-election? Well, they have stronger name recognition because they've been in office, they've been on TV, we know their names, we've seen their signs all over the place for many years in a row. So stronger name recognition, and people sometimes just go into the voting booth and say, oh, I've heard of him, and vote for him or her. Media coverage is greater with people who are in office rather than someone who is a nobody or who doesn't have that name recognition. So media coverage is greater and easier to get for an incumbent. Redistricting that favors their party. We're going to learn about redistricting in a minute, but that means drawing districts so that the majority of the district is of the same party as the candidate. So if the candidate's a Republican, the district is drawn so that most people in that district are Republicans. Campaign contributions, they attract more contributions because they are in office already and they're going to be a winner, probably because they're an incumbent. Casework. When they personally help their constituents, when they do things like help grandma with her Social Security check, or help you get a flag that flew over the Capitol building, or get tickets for a tour of the Capitol building for you, or meet with you about an issue you're having, a problem you're having. That's casework. That's helping the folks back home. The franking privilege is sending mail free of charge. So they have free mail back to their constituents to tell the constituents all the wonderful things they're doing for them in Washington, D.C. So you see the deck is really stacked in favor of incumbents. It's very difficult for someone who is not known to challenge an incumbent. All right, reapportionment means dividing up, redividing up. I always think of a portion of a pie. So every 10 years we have a census, and that counts how many people are living in each state. The House of Representatives only has 435 members, and it is the only house or chamber in Congress that is affected by the census, because the census tells us if people have moved to a state, like Texas, we're always having people moving in, or have that left a state, like maybe leaving Michigan or one of those states up there by the Great Lakes that's cold and unemployment is high. People leave, move to the south, southwest, or if there hasn't been much of a change in population at all. So if a state has increased significantly in population, they're probably going to gain 1, 2, 3, 4 seats in the House of Representatives. But if a state increases with seats, another state has lost seats. So you look around the country, one state may have lost 2 seats, another state may have lost 1 seat. Well, those seats would go to Texas or to another state that has increased in population. So reapportionment is redividing up the 435 seats in the House according to the census. Now redistricting happens after reapportionment. All right, now Texas had 34 seats, let's say. And now it has, or no, let's say they had 32 seats, and now they have 36 seats. So The state's already been drawn up to have 32 districts. Now we have to make 34 districts. So the entire map changes and new districts are added. That's called redistricting, redrawing the district map. Or a state that's lost seats. Let's say it had 15 seats and now it only has 13 seats. You have to redistrict, redraw the map for that state so it only has 13 districts instead of 15. So that's redistricting. Gerrymandering is when the districts are drawn in odd shapes in order to accommodate one party or another, some group to benefit an incumbent. So it really is just drawing districts for a reason, in an odd shaped, perhaps, to include members of a group. And that then might help someone get elected in the party that is the majority party in the state. The state legislature draws these districts. And if the state legislature is a majority Republican, they're going to draw as many districts as they can that are Republican districts, majority Republican districts. Safe seats. That means drawing district boundaries so most of the voters in a district identify with the same party as the candidate. So drawing it so that if your candidate is a Republican, the districts are drawn so that the majority of voters in that district are Republicans. And then that creates a safe seat. That candidate knows, hey, I don't have to please the other party. I can just please the people in my district. They're the majority. They're going to reelect me because they're in the same party as I am. It's not a close seat. If it were close, then that person would have to appeal to both parties so that they don't get kicked out of office for doing something that one of them doesn't like. They want to get reelected. That's the final goal. So that's called a competitive district. And a House member would have to not be so right-wing or so left-wing, not so conservative, not so liberal, or extremely that way, in order to keep happy the people in the district that are of the opposing party. That's if it weren't drawn as a safe seat district. Redistricting creates more partisan members of the House because the member of the House, she knows the district will support her partisan stance. And when we say partisan stance, we mean more liberal or more conservative, according to the party. Okay, my majority-minority district, last things, our last slide, is drawing congressional districts so the majority of people living in the district are of a minority group. So the majority would be Hispanic, or the majority would be Asian or African American, in hopes that a member of one of those groups would be elected to Congress to give a greater minority presence in Congress. So that's a majority-minority district. And we have 15 of those in Texas. Mostly Hispanic. Okay, that's all that I wanted to do for you. And there's an interruption.
We have several cars that are still parked on the band practice field.